Okay, everyone, welcome back to the show.
Yeah. Welcome to the ALLGROUND Pod. Welcome to the ALLGROUND Pod. Yeah.
Welcome to the ALLGROUND Pod. Welcome to the ALLGROUND Pod. Yeah. Welcome to the ALLGROUND Pod. Welcome to the ALLGROUND Pod. Yeah. Welcome to the ALLGROUND
Pod. Welcome to the ALLGROUND Pod.
Welcome to the mother... shit.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, buddy.
How do we turn off the... Okay, there we go.
It's out of control. You can't...
Anyway, welcome to the ALLGROUND Pod.
Yeah, that
Episode 9. Let's go. That's good. Shall we just go over everyone's week?
Yeah.
Everyone's weekend? I mean,
Yeah.
we all kind of shared a weekend. You
Yeah,
know?
we had a great weekend.
Yeah, we did have a great weekend. Well, Tina and I hosted Friends Christmas, and
I think we should refer to it as Winter Wonderland, which is what it's always been.
okay, Winter Wonderland.
Laird
Tina and I hosted Winter Wonderland at our house, and actually, Elias and I talked about this a long time ago about doing a Friends Christmas that just kind of brings back like the nostalgia of Christmas that you feel when you're like really young, you know? Elias,
Yeah.
are you listening?
Yeah.
That is the most confused face I've ever seen.
I'm just hearing some
I'm zooming in
ruckus
on that. In the editing, we're just going to zoom in. While I'm talking about Christmas, Elias is just like
I'm hearing some
understand this
ruckus in
holiday.
the
giving the
other
most
room.
confused look.
it sounds
of all
like
time.
there's a dog fight going on in there.
Surprise, surprise, dog noises at a house with dogs. Gosh, with
these
that
ones
type of look,
sounded
you would
pretty-
think someone was breaking in, or you heard.
Oh yeah, this is my breaking in face.
No, it's more like the I think I hear something wrong face.
No. Someone's breaking into the house and
Yeah,
Ruby's looking
someone's
at me and I'm
breaking in.
just like,
Yeah, literally door breaking, glass shattering. You're just. I'm confused a little bit.
what is that noise?
Is that someone breaking into the house?
Wait.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Friends Christmas. So, yeah, we were trying to...
Winter Wonderland.
Yeah, Winter Wonderland Christmas. Winter Wonderland. Okay, so years ago, they tried to put me in the slam. No, years ago, okay, we got to get that in control. Elias, go do something about your burger.
I think he's probably just trying to get Bushy's attention.
Okay, well, how is that going to happen? A lot. Is that going to happen a lot during this?
We're gonna
I
have a
hope.
problem here.
Okay, let's zone in.
Okay.
Dad's gonna get mad at us.
As I was saying, Winter Wonderland. I almost said Friends Christmas
Well
again,
done.
but Winter Wonderland. We just wanted to bring back like the nostalgia of like Christmas as kids, even though like you don't have like quite the creativity and the mindset you do. Like, oh, you believe, the Santa's coming down the chimney and bringing you presents, and like you wake up and all of a sudden the Christmas tree is loaded with gifts, And so like we were trying to bring that nostalgia back, but in a friend sense.
Yeah.
So we can all enjoy Christmas again. And last year was the first year Tina and I implemented it. And so we decided to decorate our house big time.
Yeah.
Like pretty much
Go
right
all
after.
out.
Yeah. Decorate the apartment.
Yeah.
Just go in on Christmas decorations, And we sent out we sent out invitations.
Yeah.
Like evites or just
Yeah.
like a little poster I made on Canva. And-
Christmas themed invitations. They
Yeah,
were
and
great.
we didn't let anyone come over because I didn't want anyone to see what Winter Wonderland looked like.
Yeah.
Until they were there enjoying Winter Wonderland.
Yeah, you can't
I
ruin
didn't-
the
and
magic of Christmas.
Exactly, and I didn't want them to see like the in between process. Where like there's stuff all over the place. All the decorations aren't completely put out. So
Yeah.
we just kept them away from our house, and it didn't like there was no questions asked. We kind of did it pretty slick. Like
Yeah.
But
It's good because nobody actually wants to go over to Laird's house anyways because it smells like fish sauce.
wow, okay.
That was awfully racist sounding.
yeah, I was gonna say that, but yeah, from a guy dating a Laotian to another guy dating a Laotian, we fucking hate you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, yeah, I've been
I'm
married
surrounded.
for almost 29 years to that Laotian, but I do
Yeah, yeah,
consider what
yeah,
we do
dating.
still dating, kind of. You know, we date each other.
Yeah, I
sure.
think dating is just like, it's not that you're, you could be married and still, dating, I guess.
Yeah, I think we need to turn you down just a tad, Laird.
Okay. I'm literally at the same line you are, but
Yeah, but I don't
maybe
talk
just
as
a
loud as
tad.
you.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Turn it down a notch, Skid Row. Let's go.
Yeah, but I don't talk as loud as you, man. Hey, could you just turn yourself down? I don't talk as loud as you.
brother, you're a little loud there. Why don't you chill out?
Get back on track, man. Dad's gonna be pissed.
Dang it.
Right now, Dad's wondering. He's like, "What are these guys on? What's going on here?"
So yeah, we
Sorry, Dad.
did
We'll zone in.
we did the Friends Winter Wonderland at my house last year and surprised everyone. This was just a smaller group. This year we got a little bigger group. A lot of close friends and family involved, and we have a new apartment, new decorations. We went all out. Last year, Tina and I curated our own menu.
Yeah.
And we did the same this year, but Temp Ty brought some smoked salmon, which was
So good.
so freaking good.
So good. Smoked
And,
salmon with that glaze too.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was,
man,
it was
that glaze.
marinated. But
Oh, that was so good.
yeah, but last year we just all got each other gifts. We freaking did the Christmas Eve dinner. We woke up. We did gifts on Christmas morning.
Yeah, Christmas morning. Not
Yeah.
real Christmas morning.
Yeah,
But
this year went slightly different.
Yeah.
but it was still super winter wonderland.
Yeah. Still like that nostalgia.
Yeah,
we
all
positive
did.
nostalgia was there.
Yeah, we did the Secret Santa, right?
Yep.
We did couples and couples, so we coupled up, and everyone got their own Santa. Everyone got their gifts for their Secret Santa. Elias got some fucking cool gifts
Yeah,
from Temp
I got
Ty.
the coolest gifts. I got
Yeah.
another gift this morning from Temp Ty. We should talk about this and also show it on the podcast. But,
Yeah.
So,
Give it a.
So
Explain.
Product placement.
product placement. Here we go. All ground pod,
All-Ground
one of a
Pod.
kind. This is a one of a
That is
kind
a one-of-a-kind.
cup right now.
Absolutely.
And it's got my my coffee mantra
Yeah.
on the other side, which is, as you guys know,
Yes.
the first cup doesn't count. Which most coffee lovers and enthusiasts would agree with me. First cup
think
never
so.
counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Well,
just getting to zero.
I
Ty and
personally
I-
feel like I love coffee, but
I don't know. I think
know,
we're
man.
judging you on that. I don't think
That's
you
not
do.
true. After
Yeah.
no excuses, Ty and I are having our coffee,
Yo.
and you're like, oh, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I'm feeling coffee right now.
could you make me a coffee cup that says the All Ground Pod, and then on the back, just put half a cup is good for me?
Yeah.
I'm just
that
gonna.
would
I'm gonna
be
take
for
that,
weenies.
and then I'm gonna put it on a bandsaw and cut it in half.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is enough for Laird.
Just a tiny cup.
But Laird doesn't even finish half a cup, typically.
It's got to be half of what the drink is, So if it's an 8-ounce cappuccino, if it's an 8-ounce
cappuccino.
So I'm telling you, if it's an 8-ounce, if it's an 8-ounce cappuccino, it's got to be a 4-ounce. If it's
Right.
a 12-ounce latte, it's 6.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, we should just start making this guy cortados. Cortado.
Or just a little flat white.
Or-
what's a flat white? Is that 8?
No,
Or is
I
that
think
smaller?
That's okay. I mean, it's a
however big it
cappuccino
is,
as
right?
well, but
Yeah, I think what we should
it's
do
basically a cappuccino.
is
Also,
we should get you a 24-ounce coffee mug,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you only have to drink 12 ounces of coffee.
all right. Actually, here's another thing I wanted to talk about.
Get him the most gigantic cup you've ever seen.
But there is no 24-ounce drink. That's the thing. Like, you cannot go to a coffee shop and be like, I mean, unless you're going to Dutch Bros or Starbucks or something like
The Dutch
7-Eleven.
Bros, like big cups,
7-Eleven. Yeah.
are comical. They're so silly looking. Like if I saw someone walking around with that, I would hate them.
It's not that. It's just like, I don't like, you enjoy a sugary drink. That's what you enjoy.
Yeah.
It's not like you
No,
enjoy
no
the
one's
essence of
drinking
coffee.
that thing and be like, I love coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I'm
like that's
big into coffee.
95% not coffee though.
Yeah. And 100% sugar.
Yeah. Okay, so there's also this cup that Ty told me about. It's called, or Supa mentioned
the heavy mug.
The heavy mug. We should get heavy mugs.
I have seen those.
You've seen them?
Yeah.
They're expensive, but I want one.
But
How expensive
I know
are they?
exactly why you want that. And go ahead and out yourself to the fans that you're a fucking anime nerd and tell us why you want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elias tries to act like he's not,
Dude,
but
I
he
got
is.
my Gone colors on right now.
Yeah. Speaking of, that's the anime.
Yeah.
Tell us
Hunter,
about it.
Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
Which that's a lot of people's favorite anime. It's just really good, start to finish. But there's this episode where Gon and friends are going to rescue Killua, and
Yeah.
and they're like stopping in the butler's house or something, and every single thing, like even like the pens, the cups, they're all super fucking heavy.
Yeah.
Everything in the house is very heavy.
The chairs,
Yeah, the
doors,
chairs are heavy.
Yeah.
And they have to like the test here is to just like go through your everyday routine without like noticing how heavy it is, like just to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I don't know, just like something about that is so cool to me. So
Also, just to open the doors to get into the Zoldyck residence, you have to be able to open just the heaviest
yeah,
doors of all time, and then there's
Yeah.
layers to it. So like the stronger you get, the more nen you can use, right? Which is
Yeah.
like just a way to enhance, your abilities. The more doors you can open. Right?
that's insane.
What? How big is it?
It's 10
Look
kilos.
at this, dude. Watch this.
What do you like? Smashes the table.
What?
That's so funny.
That's crazy.
He takes
Anyways,
a drink
the-
and just throws it
yeah.
down and smashes the table with it.
So this guy holding the heavy mug he takes a sip, and then he said, Dude, stuff like
have
that
to be careful
gets
of
me.
that.
You
He
know,
like
though,
sets the heavy mug on the table and just shatters
Slams it.
that really embraces the concept that you guys have of there's always a harder way.
Yeah.
Right? Like just everyday life
Whoa.
things just make everything harder.
Yeah.
Just make everything heavy.
Yeah. I
And
think
that-
Elias and I have talked a lot about like how do I say this? Like just I feel like there's more that you can bring out of yourself that you don't even know. And it might sound a little stupid, but sometimes I watch anime and
Okay, that did sound.
Right there. Yeah. It was stupid.
okay, we'll stop there. That was the stupid comment.
Okay, sounds stupid.
But characters like they just know no bounds to how powerful they can get.
Yeah.
They kind of just like I can train more, I can train harder, I can get more powerful. I can unlock another potential inside me that just enhances my strength, enhances my the power
Stronger
I have as a
resolve.
martial artist or like mentally, physically, all those things. So I feel like I try to apply that to our practice a lot of the time,
Yeah.
in and out of fight camp. When I'm watching this anime, I'm like, oh, yeah, there's things that I can be doing that like I probably haven't even unlocked the full potential of my physicality or my mentality,
Yeah. I had an anime moment for sure the other day. So we have the angled wall in our gym.
Yeah.
And like from the bottom of the angle, I can't just box jump up to the top. I've
Yeah.
always been like 4 or 5 inches shy.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. And I was just like, I was sort of thinking about Gon and Killua a little bit and just like putting myself in like that fight or flight mode where you almost have super strength in moments of fight or flight. And I was like, man, if I can just fucking access that, like right here, right now, I can make the jump. I can get up there because I see it and I'm like, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to get up there.
Yeah.
So I literally sat off to the side and just closed my eyes and just focused on my breath and really started to hyperventilate, started to think about like just thoughts that would get me super amped and like make me want to jump this. So thoughts of like losing Ruby, like Ruby's about to die, if I can't make this jump, or Lola, or Lola's
Yeah, what
about
about
to
me,
die.
bud?
There's no
What
way.
about me,
There's
bud?
no
What
way
the
you would
fuck?
be in a situation where
He's
you could
like,
die.
My ACL.
He's like, I just don't care
Walking
that
around in
much.
crutches. Fucking no ACL.
you're still tough, man. You got this.
You can fight
Yeah.
someone off.
No, but just
But Ruby, though.
but just getting like super hyper focused on this to the point where
Yeah.
my heart rate is like so elevated.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah.
And then like you almost start to get tunnel vision, like you're fully zoned in.
Yeah.
Dude, and I just jumped with more strength in my legs than I had every time I had tried previously, got to the top and then freaked out. And I also kind of freaked out because I was just like, dude, that's literally the power of your mind right there. Just
Yeah.
taking a second, zoning in and like getting to another, like hitting another level, like
Yeah.
shifting into that next gear.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I felt right there. And that was awesome. And so,
Yeah, yeah. There's so many moments like that. I mean, I feel like we could all. In fact, that would be fun thing to do is just like share a moment where you like felt like, okay, this is good enough, but then you pushed past that. You know,
yeah.
Ty, do you have anything in mind?
I've got a bunch.
Okay. Share
Well,
another.
yeah, I know. Like, well, we have that reel of you talking about
Yeah.
combat jiu-jitsu world championships and how you were like, oh, maybe my family will be satisfied or they're already proud of me. And then you're like, no, not
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
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 Push past it.
Yeah, I think there was a time when, so Laird and I had always grown up competing, obviously involved in martial arts our whole lives, and experienced a lot of success. And at some point, it seemed like we were experiencing like more failure, like we were being tested. And we started to have this like, these thoughts in our head, like, are we the guys that are fucking supposed to lose? You know, like, like, are we part of somebody else's story? And Laird kind of brought that up, just like after, losing a jiu-jitsu match. And we always knew how to train hard. We could always push ourselves to the limit. But I think there was like a bit of a block, maybe a bit of a mental block or an edge, that we didn't have yet. And at this point, this had been like my 6th or 7th appearance on Combat Jiu-Jitsu EBI event.
Yeah.
And I had made it, to the semifinals. And I remember thinking like, I just, I had a good first match, good second match. I was in the semifinals. I knew I thought I could do really well, and just having those thoughts. Sorry, those dogs are going crazy.
You're
But
getting them riled up with your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just
Burger's
just
like, I can dig deeper.
thinking about those thoughts, and even before, like even as we were preparing, I mean, you were talking about having more resolve than these guys. Like before I even went into the match, like after the weigh-ins, like, the refuel, Laird was talking about having more resolve. He's like, you're gonna win because you have more resolve than these people. Like you're willing to like give it everything, and leave it all on the line.
Yeah.
And so going in the semifinals, I remember thinking like having these thoughts, these thoughts of a former me,
Yeah.
being like I'm, I've made it pretty far. Like everybody that's watching on UFC Fight Pass right now is like, they're gonna be proud of me regardless. And then I just kept hearing your voice in my head, because Laird was also saying like shoulda, which is like a demon with
Yeah.
Yeah,
At the moment, we
Yeah.
could look it up, but yeah.
we could look it up. But Laird kept saying this thing in my head, and then I instantly snapped out of it. I instantly was like, no, like I am tired of being that guy that's part of someone else's story that's supposed to lose, and tired of like having those thoughts of, everyone else will be proud of me. Everyone else is gonna, still love me. I was
Yeah.
just like, no, fuck that, man. Fuck that. I have to go out there and do everything I can to win and truly believe that it's possible, because I can't have these thoughts.
I think that's important. I think
Yeah.
believing that it's possible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that preach the empowerment, like if you just believe, you will achieve. And that's not true. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, some days you're not going to win. That's just the way it is. But you have to know that you could.
Yeah.
You have to know that it's possible and believe that it's possible. Otherwise, it's just going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
For sure.
You don't want to be just good enough for the guy that wins to feel good about his win.
that that's what I was experiencing. I was like, I'm tired of being like a self-fulfilling prophecy, like of my own like negative thoughts. You know, I want to be the motherfucker that wins this shit.
Yeah.
You know, and then Laird was saying that too. Laird was in my ear like, you've come too far. You're winning this. And he just kept saying, you're winning this, not you can win this.
Right.
Laird kept saying, you are winning this. You are going to fucking win this. And so every time a thought like that came into my head where I was like, you know, I've made it pretty far, I would just be like, no, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm winning this. I am going to fucking win this.
Yeah.
And then went out, had a tough semifinal match. And then once I was in the finals, then I truly believed. Like, once I finished that semifinal match and I was in the finals, I was like, oh, yeah, I am winning this. Tonight is my story.
Yeah.
Tonight, you know, is the night.
Yeah. I think there's been a few moments, like, for you specifically, where, like, I don't think you knew how far you could push.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, we've seen that in competition and, you know, even fights where it's like, I don't think you're giving yourself the credit that you deserve when it's, like, comes to pushing and digging deeper. And you've always had that dog. You've always been, like, mentally strong, but, like, knowing like, oh, I could fucking push harder here. I could do more. I'm tougher than this person in every way. You know, and we've had a couple moments like even the IBJJF tournament where it was just a local jiu-jitsu tournament. It was the San Jose Open, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just remember like I probably looked crazy to everyone because like most jiu-jitsu coaches are like telling like yelling at people saying like, oh, like doing what techniques they should be doing, like how they should be doing it, what positions they should be watching out for, like the technical advantages, the points. And I was just like, I just kept screaming at you like, fucking nobody is tougher than you.
Yeah.
Nobody is tougher than you.
Yeah.
Like no one's going to win because nobody is as tough as you. No one can dig deep like you can fucking dig deep.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just screaming at him. And then like one of the coaches was saying that, you know, Elias should just, you know, ride out for points, you know, just win the match. He was up on points, and I was like, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck that. No, just keep attacking him.
Yeah, Laird was
that's
like,
who we are. That's the type of people we
That's
are.
what
That's
you
the
kept
type
saying.
of fucking people we are.
Yeah, Laird was like, fucking take him down one more time, because that's who we are. That's the type of people we are.
Yeah, I was like, one more. Like, no, fuck that. Let's not just like stall for a win. Let's just dominate him from the first bell to the last.
Yeah.
You know? And make him know that there was not a moment that he could have beat you.
Yeah.
You know?
Just be relentless.
Yeah. Yeah. Because people can be like, oh, fuck, he was stalling in the last bar, blah, 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 blah.
He was
no,
afraid
fuck
of me,
that.
whatever. Yeah.
No, I came forward and I put you on your ass from the first bell to the last, and you could do nothing. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a good moment.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's been a lot of those moments, you know, a lot of those tough moments where I definitely do have to realize I'm stronger than even I think in those moments.
Yeah.
And I have to believe, you know, in the effort, because I don't want to be just the badass in the training room, you know, the guy that shines, you know, outside of the lights. And I want to be like, I want to show people what I'm capable of, you know, on a world stage. And, you know, I had that opportunity when I won Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds, and, you know, we've had some wins and some losses since then, and, you know, ups and downs. But I think the biggest thing now is there's just a lot more self-belief. All right. I'm handling that.
You go handle that like a man. Go take care of that.
Yeah. With me.
There's actually, by the way, a really famous, I don't know, you don't really follow Olympic weightlifting, right? But Vasily Alexia, he's like one of the most famous weightlifters.
I bet you my dad would know.
Yeah.
Who that is.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, that sounds super familiar, actually.
He was
I'm
the
sure
first.
He's told me about that.
He set so many world records, and he beat his own world records over and over and over. And he I think he was the first man to clean and press 500 pounds. So back in the day, Olympic weightlifting used to be 3 events. It used to be the snatch, the clean and jerk, and the clean and press. But they did away with the clean and press. But he clean and press, which is a push press, 500 pounds, which is insane. But the point of the story is that he had a training partner that was the guy that always won in the weight room. He would always lift more than Vasily Alexia in the weight room. But then on competition day, Alexia would come out and just beat him every time.
Yeah.
And And I'm sure it was maddening for his training. I can't even remember the guy's name, which is sad because that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be able to perform when it matters.
Yeah.
And so, being the guy that's like super tough in the training room is great and everything. But when it matters, that's when it matters.
Yeah.
You got to do it. You got to perform.
Yeah. There's definitely like just a mental change, you know, and like some people just deal with pressure differently, you know, like going into a fight, going into a competition, whether it's when you have people expecting something of you, you know, and just watching you, all eyes are on you and they're expecting you to do something great. Then like you either can take that and fucking manifest and just build strength from it or it can fold people.
Yeah.
You know, and you've seen it in every sort of sport. You know, when you hear, that's not just in the martial arts community. Like you said, it's weightlifting, any sort of sport. You hear stories about people that were just dominated in the practice room. Like, oh, this guy was so good here. This guy was so good there. And then like, but they were never the best when it came to, you know, being out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a big part of it is hesitation. You know, you're hesitant about exposing yourself, you know, by doing what you normally do, because when you're in the training room, there's no real
There's no consequences.
There's no consequences, you know, and so you're able to take those risks. And I think that when you can have the same mentality in front of people, and you know, with the lights on you, that's when you shine. You know, that's when you shine, when you're still willing to take risks, when you're still willing to do those things that you do in the training room, and obviously protect yourself at all times, but you're not hesitating. You know, you're not being a shell of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even really explain how it is when you're in a fight, but there's so many moments that test you because it's so real.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like, you know, this guy's trying to hurt me as bad as he possibly can.
Yeah.
And like even in my second pro fight, I remember like right in the beginning, you know, we exchanged. He was kicking my legs. I threw a 1-2 at him. We eventually clinched up, and I remember like feeling a good amount of resistance trying to get him to the ground. And I was like, just for a split moment in my head, I was like, fuck, this might be harder than... It was almost like I got a flashback to my first fight. And where I was like, holy shit, this might be harder than I expect it to be.
Yeah.
You know, like this actually might be a tough fight. And then he landed an elbow, and I was like, no, like there's no way I can allow this. I've trained so hard. I've, you know, the type of people that I've trained with, the level of fighters that I've been sparring with, it's just doesn't compare, or that fight didn't compare to that, you know? So I just like instantly shut that off. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to try to beat this guy.
Yeah.
Dominate him.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
Do you think there was a moment in your life where you kind of switched over, maybe in fighting, and in every discipline in your life, whether it be education, fighting, whatever?
Yeah.
There's this mentality of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, where the fixed mindset is I've either got it or I don't, you know. Whereas the growth mindset is I can always get better. I can unlock new levels. I can become better. Was this a gradual change for you, or do you think that there was like a kind of a watershed moment in your life where that changed?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was always gradually getting better. You know, there was so many moments like Elias talked about earlier, how like, you know, there was times in jiu-jitsu competitions that we were like losing pretty frequently. We would enter a comp and we would lose, but I think we knew deep down that there was more that could be done, whether it was like a higher focus on I was actually talking about this with Chunks earlier today, you know, after your guys' private. I was like, yeah, there was a time where we were like losing a lot in competition and like just loss after loss after loss. And like, there would always be this, oh, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? In all reality, like there was, first of all, it was a mentality thing. And then second, like there was so much more like on the technical side of our training that could have been done.
Yeah.
You know, technical and just believing that it doesn't cost, it doesn't take the best coach, the best training partner to get you there. You know, that'll help and that'll build confidence, but it doesn't take that 100%.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need the fucking you don't need to be training with a black belt world champion every day to be a world champion. You got a solid purple belt that's just willing to grind and show up every day for you. You're gonna get better.
Yeah.
And it's the mentality. And so I think for me, like, it was always I was just gradually getting better and better. But then when things started to click, we've talked about this, was at AK, when I was like, my view of MMA just changed completely. And like the way I was fighting, the way I was grappling, even like my jiu-jitsu style changed completely. And I was noticing just so much more success, right? When I'm like using my technique, using my pressure, using my position, and focusing on like, first of all, in MMA, you don't score points from passing. You don't score points from sweeping, right? You don't score points from taking the back. You score based off like damage, right? How many punches you're landing, right? The control.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm focusing on these things. I'm focusing on control. And then it made my jiu-jitsu like drastically better. I remember I used to like, there would be times where I would have like tough times with a scrambly purple belt who was strong and explosive and athletic. And then it just started to feel like I was seeing everything in slow motion when I was rolling with people. And I was like, oh, this is easier than I remember it being.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
Well, do you think, I mean, if you could go back in time now and re-experience all that, knowing what you know, do you think that the losses that you took were like an essential part of your growth? Meaning, if you could go back and like actually win those matches, would you be not as good as you are today? Because the loss, like, for instance, the book, The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin, he talks about this concept of fail to win. You have to fail. You have to fail to be better.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, maybe that is just like your origin story, you know, both of you guys, like your losses are what made you as good as you are right now. And if you took those away, maybe you wouldn't be as good as you are right now.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I think it gives you perspective too, you know, and it allows you to be a more complete coach, you know, for your students in dealing with loss, and just, you know, relationships in general and your relationship with yourself. You know how much effort you can put into something and still, you know, not come out with a victory.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's a lesson, you know, that's something either in your preparation or your performance mentally, physically. It's just data, you know, it's data to be collected. And for Laird and I, it was necessary to have those losses. It was necessary to be so down that we thought we were the guys that were supposed to lose, and just to ultimately decide that we're not those guys, you know.
Right.
That's not our story. And if we don't want that to be our story, we've got to show up, you know, we've got to show up every day and not be stuck in this valley of despair, you know, and not feel sorry for ourselves and not cry and complain to anyone that we're losing, because ultimately nobody cares, you know.
Yeah.
People, I mean, Laird and I cared about each other for sure, but like it wasn't as important to anyone else as it was to us.
Right.
And so just having that ability to adjust and grow from those losses, I think did make us stronger. And I think you experience that and it shapes, it makes you think so realistically, you know, about what you need to do, you know, what you need to do in order to be successful. And I think when we found ourselves at AK and at Kyotera, you know, competing with guys that also wanted to be the best in the world, you know, guys that wanted to come into the training room and just obliterate everyone else, you get this realistic look at what to expect at that level. You know, at that level that Laird and I dreamed of getting to, we got this realistic look. And I think that was such a big shift because, yeah, like it didn't matter if it was a purple belt or if it was a black belt. This person was trying to beat us no matter what, you know, or an amateur fighter or a pro fighter. Like this person was trying to be better, be the hardest worker in the room, you know, and that's an environment that Laird and I thrive in, because ever since we were kids, we wanted to be the hardest workers in the room. And so getting that realistic look was what I felt gave Laird, you know, more success in his professional career, ultimately being 4-0 where he's at now, but just looking like ahead of his years, more professional, because he's getting this realistic experience from some of the best guys in the world, that are sparring him and trying to hurt him at just as they would in a real fight.
Right.
And same with when we were training at Kyle Terra, Kyle would scream at us and be like, it's competition class. Like, you have to think of this as a competition. You can't think you're just coming into training. You can't think you're just coming in, on a Wednesday to get your workout in.
Right.
Like, this is comp class. You come in here like you're about to compete, and you make it as realistic as possible.
Yeah.
And I agree with Laird. I don't think you need those high level guys. I just think you need people that are willing to show up, work hard, and create that environment where it has to be as real as it gets. That's what it has to be, because that's where we're gonna grow the most. We're gonna learn the most. Is putting ourselves in that space.
I agree completely. For me to answer your question, like, I don't think that the losses were what shaped the change. Like, obviously, like, the history is written, we took the losses, but I don't think those are what, like, because you were asking, do you think, like, the losses were a big part of what, like, made you guys start thinking that way or change that mindset in you? And I don't necessarily think it was, right? If, like, I feel like most of my growth mentally and more of the time that I contemplated deeply was in training, and when we would compete and we would lose, I remember a lot of the time thinking things like, maybe we're just in these other guys' story, and we're just the guys that are supposed to give them tough matches but never supposed to win. And also but feeling sad. But I would never, like, really, it would be the training sessions where I would have tough times or have a tough sparring session or have a tough jiu-jitsu session, and I would go home and, like, really contemplate deeply on my practice, my performance, like, who I am as a martial artist, what I want to become, like, where I want to be. And I don't know exactly when the shift happened, but I just remember there was so many times where I would think to myself, like, remember the years and years and years of practice that we've put into this. Don't put yourself on the level of who you're competing with. Just remember that we have been doing this since we were kids. We've been boxing since we were kids. We've been doing jiu-jitsu since we were kids. And we haven't, like, taken a break really to do anything else. So it's like, when I get back to that mindset of, like, I know a lot and I am very, very good because I've just done it for years and years, like, disciplined with my practice, it kind of helps build the confidence. But yeah, if I could go back with a different mentality and win those matches, I fucking would. But yeah, I don't think those were the ultimate change of my mentality and the success I had later on.
But it's just part of your story.
It's just part of the story.
There's no way to know for sure.
Yeah.
That's just the feeling you have.
Yeah. You can't know exactly what, like, affected what.
I think, to Ty's point, like, those losses ultimately, like, led to you having those mental realizations.
But that's what I was trying to say is, like, I had more, like, inner mental dialogue after training and during training than I did after a competition. It was more just like, fuck, I'm sad I lost.
Yeah.
Fucking why did I lose? Like, I'm pissed. Right.
Yeah. And so maybe, then in those training sessions, you started to learn, like, why you were losing it before.
Yeah.
It was all coming together.
It's like that movie, The Butterfly Effect, right? You go back in time, you win those matches. And then you go back forward and you're like, Ben Stiller at the end of Dodgeball. And you're like this just big overweight guy that, like, isn't taking care of himself. You're like, maybe losing those matches was good. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, I think like the competition made me feel like there was times where I felt sorry for myself, but I remember like really deeply thinking after training, like, what am I doing? Is this what I'm supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to be a fighter? And do I really want to do this? Like, you fucking get emotional. Like you almost, those everyone's had those moments in the shower where you're just sitting there letting the water hit you and you're just thinking about everything. You know?
Dude. The shower is the worst, man, because it's either the best, you're just showering after you had an awesome victory, and you're just freshening up. You feel so good.
You
You're
look like you're in
replaying
a
it in your
soap
head.
commercial, you know?
Yeah. Or you're there just curled up in a ball,
Dude,
just,
yes. Actually, I
Bro.
would like get like into a fucking fetal position, holding my knees, like just head down, and I'm just like, oh man, because you're thinking like, I fucking want to be the best. I want to be so good. But like, fuck. I don't even know how to explain it. You just have these training sessions where it just breaks you down mentally a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure every pro fighter that wants to fucking be worth a damn knows exactly what I'm talking about. But
Dude, I think everybody has those feelings. I mean, I am like just barely starting jiu-jitsu. Right? Like, you guys just gave me my second stripe, right? Which was super cool. But but there are days I go in and I'll leave and I'm like, am I like, what is wrong with me? Do I have like a learning disability? I am so bad today. Yeah. And then other days I'll leave and I'll be like, oh man, I've arrived. I'm so good today, but it's more amplified for somebody that's like investing their whole life into something. Obviously.
It's funny. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's ultimately a good thing because that means it's important to you.
Right.
You know? If it weren't important to you, it wouldn't bother you. You know? The tiniest little thing that you did wrong wouldn't bother you. Which is why I like hearing that when white belts or early stage jiu-jitsu practitioners are like, man, I just couldn't stop thinking about this. I was watching a video on it. I'm like, good. That's awesome. That means that you're like, this is important to you.
Yeah, because it reminds you, like, how you think, what you think about, like, dude.
I can't sleep.
My gosh. I'll tell you, like, do you remember the time I got taken down by Kaboo?
Yes, I remember.
Oh my, dude. I still, like, just have thoughts of this. Like, why did I fucking do that?
This has been like a lesson in humility for the longest time.
Dude. And like, it was like you said, it was the time where it mattered. Like we used to do these things in AK where it's like basically you grab a partner, you only have one shot with this partner, and it's like,
it was at the end of practice too. So at the end of a hard practice, everyone's running in a circle, and then one of the coaches will say, Laird, this guy, you in the center, everybody else keeps running. Like first takedown wins.
So everyone's running and watching us, and like this is a guy usually like I would take down, like I would get the better of the wrestling exchanges most of the time.
Right.
And like I was also just really like obsessing with wrestling. Like I was getting to work with some of the Oklahoma State boys, and like I was doing it all the time. I was fucking thinking about like disciplined wrestling, and I was just doing the mental reps, doing the physical reps like every day. So in this moment, they pulled us out, and like I think this was out of wrestling practice, and we had wrestled earlier in that day, and I had taken him down quite a few times, right? And then when it mattered, this guy fucking takes me down, like puts me to my back, and I'm trying to roll out of it, like trying to scramble. I'm just, that mentality, like I talk about in our jiu-jitsu gym, is like, do not stop. Do not settle. Right? So I was just not settling. And then I hear Kyle Crutchmer, like, he's like, that's 2 points.
Yeah,
like he screams it at me. He's like, that's 2. And I'm like, just get up with my fucking head down, and I start jogging, and I'm just so angry with myself. And then later that day, I have like a striking session with Kyle and I think it was just Kyle.
Yeah,
and
but I was there too.
It was Elias and Kyle, and he was just shitting on me.
Bro, he was not letting Laird hear the end of it.
And
I was
my
just
God.
like, and I know Laird too. So like Laird's like, he's like smiling and like trying to joke about it, but I know it's just killing him inside. I know Laird's like,
I was just like, dude, clenching my fist behind my back. Just, fuck, dude.
I knew it too. I was like, dude, Laird is livid right now. This guy hates this.
Yeah, and he knew that too, though.
Yeah, no.
Like he knew, like deep down inside, I'd fucking just hated the fact that I got taken down by him, and I think that was his way of being like, time to get better, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, speaking of wrestling,
Yeah.
NCAA wrestling is happening right now. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, this is like my NFL season.
Right. I was gonna say,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Laird, this is the equivalent of like college basketball for people that like, get the
March
boards
Madness.
and,
You know, this is like, I call it March Madness. You know,
Yeah.
like that's the freaking yeah. Because a lot of people have like sports that they watch. They tune into, like, throw up on their TV, the college football game, college basketball, NFL. For me, like, I've never been into that. Like, the only sports I've ever been into is combat. So, like, watching, like, ESPN and pulling up some college wrestling matches is, like, the best. I follow teams. I follow, like, athletes. And it's just, like, even this year, like, Tina and I put together a little fantasy team, like, between the two of us, like, a little competition.
It's awesome.
Where we drew and we got to pick, like, who we think at the beginning of the season, we picked, like, who do you think is going to be our NCAA champs, at the end of the year? And basically, like, for every dual win, which is just team versus team, you get 1 point, right? Which for your athlete. And then for every tournament win, like, 3 points for first, 2 for second, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then basically whoever has the most points by the end of the regular season going into the NCAA championship, we get to, like, get, like, a little bonus or get to swap a player, So, yeah. But I've just been watching just everything. Everything. I mean, Oklahoma State, David Taylor took over, which is insane. Like, I honestly thought that guy would never leave Penn State and go anywhere else. But now he's at Oklahoma State running a killer program, and they're doing so good, man. It's just so fun to watch. Like, there's nothing better than just sitting on the couch and watching NCAA wrestling.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, my YouTube feed is starting to feed me wrestling. I've gotten more and more fascinated. When we do Nogi, obviously there's a lot more wrestling techniques you guys are teaching. And so I'm kind of fascinated by it. And obviously also the goal of jiu-jitsu and wrestling, very different. You're trying to get submissions. There's no pulling guard in wrestling because that would be really stupid. You're trying to stay off your back, but regardless, it is fascinating. Like, I love watching guys shoot, and I suck at shooting. And so I'm like, oh man, like, just watching just the mechanics of how they do it and how they're so quick at it. Yeah. It's fun. I love watching you, when you and Tiha did your, like, 9 minutes, you just kept, like, it's just, you're like a cat. You would just, like, reach out and just snag his foot so quick. I'm like, oh, that's gotta suck for Tiha. Yeah. Just keep grabbing his foot and flipping him on his back. I'm like, oh. Yeah. It's artistic. I love watching somebody that's so good at shooting. Just,
dude.
I think it's so cool that we have, like, a combat sport as part of the public school system and the collegiate system. Yeah. Here in America,
sure.
Like, it's so freaking cool that people can get involved in a combat sport from, like, elementary to high school and then into college. And then it can be a feeder for people that want to do MMA, and MMA is one of the fastest growing sports in the world now. So it's just cool that it's always been there, and that and it's thriving more than ever now because of MMA. And you're seeing college wrestling on ESPN now and UFC Fight Pass. And it's more accessible to watch, where before it'd be, like, so hard to watch. You would have to have, like, ESPN 3 or whatever it was, and you could only watch it on DirecTV, something weird, but
it's actually a feeder for jiu-jitsu now, right? Because for a long time, like Nate was saying, you finish wrestling in high school, and if you don't go wrestle in college, there's really not a lot you can do. Like, there are some, like, adult wrestling programs, but not a lot. Whereas, like, you go to a jiu-jitsu gym and you can kind of get it back a little bit. You get to roll again. Yeah, which is cool.
Well, wrestling is so, just the talent level is so deep, even at, like, the college level. Like, even the top 25 guys, like, there's such a huge discrepancy. Like, for example, two of the best, like Carter Starachi, he's a 5th year senior at Penn State, and he's going for the first ever 5th NCAA wrestling title this year. So he has 4 true freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, and then he got an extra year because of COVID. So he's going for trying to be the first ever 5-time NCAA champ. And he's just like blown through the field. Like last year, he was just like the number 2, number 3, number 4 wrestlers. He was just crushing, you know?
Yeah.
And as well as Aaron Brooks, you saw him Aaron Brooks was destroying people. Like his NCAA final match, he just went out there and whooped ass. And it's like, it's insane to think like some of these guys have just dedicated their life, 4-time state champs, and then something happens. Like there's something happens, and like some people just skyrocket, you know, during that time. Like Spencer Lee was the same. He didn't have like quite as I guess the fantasy, like the dream run, you know. He had some tough losses, but like still when he was winning, he was dominating.
Yeah, at the highest level.
At the highest level.
Top 10, top 5 in the world.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's crazy to see because you see 4-time NCAA All-Americans, meaning if you're an All-American, you placed at the NCAA tournament, you know? And you see some of those guys, they don't even do it after college. They don't pursue a world team. They don't pursue an Olympic team. Like, and those are guys that have literally placed at the, you know, the hardest tournament in the country just 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
You know? It's wild.
Yeah. I think it comes down to like a level of importance. You know, like we talked about, like, you know, just thinking about the one little mistake you made in practice and then, you know, thinking about that before you go to bed. But I'm sure those guys at the highest level, like they're not only highly critical, but they're just like highly corrective. You know, like any little mistake they make, they're just back in the training room and they're like trying never to make that mistake again. Mm-hmm. You know, one thing that I took away from a lot of comp training, you know, in the Bay Area was like, it's just the first person to make a mistake. Mm-hmm. You know, like the guys at the highest level would be like, it's the first person to make a mistake. When you're at that high of a level, just don't make the first mistake because then it's downhill from there.
Yeah.
And I just think those guys at the highest level where there's such a discrepancy, even between 1 and 2, number 1 is just not willing to make a mistake, you know, or he's willing to make you, or he wants to make you make the first mistake. Yeah. And then it just takes over. And then there's also part of like, when you're that dominant, when you've been number 1 for so long, like everybody else has this like, this preconceived, you know, like feeling before they even hit the mat. They're like, some people, this guy is the best in the world. And it's the people that can look past that really shine. They're like, I don't give a fuck if he's number 1. Like, I am taking it to him.
Have you read the 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson?
I never read it, but
the first rule, like, it's actually pretty comical. But he talks about lobsters when they fight. Yeah, have you heard that one?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! So it's like that mentality, right?
Yeah. I haven't heard it. Tell me about it.
So lobsters will fight, and if they lose a fight, they will like become subservient. Mm-hmm. They won't fight anymore. If they lose. And so, and the ones that win become like more emboldened and stronger. Mm-hmm. And so like, you know, the idea is to be that winning lobster.
Right? Yeah.
And so, you know, when you're getting on the mat with a guy that's the top guy, he's just been completely dominant. That's like being the weaker lobster, challenging the one that just keeps winning fight after fight. And it's hard mentally to go in there thinking I can win this. You're like convinced you're not going to win before you even get on the mat.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, and one thing I just love is guys that can get past that. Yeah. I mean, there's some guys that will be dominated, you know, in a loss. Mm-hmm. And like they'll just come back and be like, I can do better. I can win. I can do more than what I showed. And like those are the truly special athletes. Like I mean, that's why I'm such a big fan of David Taylor too, is like that guy lost against the 2 best guys in the world time and time again. Yeah. And just kept fucking going. Yeah. And now is like considered one of the best American wrestlers.
Of all time. Yeah.
You know,
one of the greatest of all time.
One of the best American wrestlers out there, you know? Yeah. And like, he lost to Kyle Dake every time they wrestled. I think he beat him once collegiately. Yeah. Maybe. You'd have to fact check me, but he lost a lot to Kyle Dake. Yeah. Went on to the senior or the world, you know, the national level. Wrestled Jordan Burroughs, lost a couple times to him. Mm-hmm. You know, just kept going. There was always like the best guy in front of him. You know, Jordan Burroughs, greatest American wrestler of all time, him and John Smith. Mm-hmm. And then Kyle Dake, who was also, I think, was he the second or first 4-time NCAA champion? Might have been the second. I don't know. He was
the first 4-time NCAA champion
at 4 different weight classes. So also just a spectacular feat and something you probably would never see replicated again.
Yeah.
And those are the guys that are in front of him, but he's just like, no, fuck that. Like I still have a story to write.
Yeah.
Olympic champion, three-time world champion, 4-time world medalist, I believe. So impressive. Like those are the stories that I just live for, that like drive me, and it's so cool.
It's the underdog story, man.
Yeah.
It's I mean, even when you're not like an underdog, because I guess David Taylor, it was always like at the highest level,
Yeah, if it wasn't,
but
Jordan
you
Burroughs.
want to see that person like make that breakthrough. You want to see that person like accomplish what they've always dreamt of, and they just keep getting so close. Yeah, those are the stories that hit home. You're like, fuck.
It's so
cool.
I invested big time, like emotionally, in Spencer Lee this past. Like, I mean, when he was wrestling, I was just so like, I mean, it was the ACL speech,
Yeah, yeah.
He had 2 torn ACLs, both knees, and just went out and won an NCAA championship, and came back and just.
Oh yeah, have you heard this one?
Famous line.
No.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
it's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, he basically said like, he tore his ACLs in practice, and he's like, I'm not making any excuses though, because excuses are for wusses.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah,
such
he
like
said,
a
no excuses. Excuses are for wusses.
yeah. And like the fact that he couldn't didn't cuss or use any like,
I know. So awesome.
That's awesome.
yeah. So, and then he's had a rough go. Like his run, even though everyone expected him to do like fantastic, and he was, but he had some fucking tough losses, and he had some injuries, and he had some things that he was dealing with, like emotionally too, I think. And like I was just always behind, watching that guy, which is funny because like I trained with Nicky P for a long time, and Nick Piccinini, he was one of those tough losses for Spencer Lee.
Yeah, pinned him.
Yeah,
pinned him in a duel, which is was
at
insane.
Gallagher Iba, which is the arena that the Oklahoma State wrestlers wrestle in. That's where their duels, and it's packed. Thousands and thousands of people. Like
it's sold out. It's insane.
And like there's 2 places that you'd want to wrestle. It's and have a huge crowd, or 3, I guess. Penn State, Iowa, and Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
3
they
places, just get behind their fans massively. And Iowa and Oklahoma State is just like the rivalry of all time. So it's like that was the duel.
Yeah.
And fucking Nick Piccinini had lost to Spencer Lee before, goes out there, pins him in front of everyone, just
Dude, iconic moment. Yeah, insane.
Which is funny because I've even told Nick this before, but before him and I became friends, I remember watching that match live, because that's like I've always been a fan of NCAA wrestling, and I was like, "Fuck, dude, fuck!" I was so sad. I was so upset for Spencer Lee. I was like, "No, fuck."
Yeah,
But
And then you became friends with the guy.
and then
that
I
got
became friends with Nicky P, and like he's a workhorse. He's
a
the man.
dog, man.
Yeah.
Nicky
So
P's
strong.
sick.
Yeah.
He's a badass.
But Spencer Lee just wrestled in the Olympics and took second against. Had a super close match. Was winning, and then lost it right at the end. But
Yeah, it was a tough
super
loss.
close match in the finals. But yeah, man, just spectacular things.
Yeah, so
Spectacular
cool.
things.
Yeah, and you want to see that. Like those are the people that we idolize. That you want to idolize. The ones that like they get so close and they've invested so much, and and it still slips away from them, but they don't get discouraged. Like for sure they're upset, and they're sad, but it doesn't. They don't lose sight of the goal.
Yeah.
And
They get
that's
discouraged,
inspiring.
but they don't get deterred.
Yeah.
Like they never change course, no matter how down they feel.
Yeah.
They just keep going.
Man, yeah, that's ultimately inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also to like the fact that I was rooting for Spencer Lee, and like became friends with Nicky P, and like still rooted for Spencer Lee in that time, because I mean, like, I'm not gonna be like angry with someone unless you're like a fucking asshole to my friend. Like that's when the loyalty comes out. But we've always kind of been that way. Like I've never looked at people and been like felt hate towards them because they had something I didn't,
Yeah.
Like even like Aaron Pico, like I've always told you, like, fuck, if there's one fight that I like really want, that I just want before my career is up, is like I want to fight Aaron Pico. And it's because like, it's not because like I fucking just want to fight him and hurt him because I don't like this guy. It's actually like the exact opposite. I look at him and I see like this guy trains fucking harder than anyone else. And he's like, has a great mentality. He's a fucking solid, just like real martial artist. And you could just tell like with his practice, with his mentality, the way he talks about it, like everything. So it's like things like that, even though it's someone I can fight, I'm like, oh, I like this guy, you know?
Yeah.
I like this guy. I like watching him. I'm going to support him and then pray to God that I can fight him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that is a super cool mentality to have, you know, because at the end of the day, this is still a sport. It's real, and it sucks at times, and it's painful. It's the most unforgiving sport in the world.
Yeah.
But to have that, like, you know, objective look on your opponents, your future opponents, maybe, is really cool, because like game respects game. You know, you want to be able to respect what they've done and ultimately use that to fuel you, you know? You're not fueled by rage. You're not fueled by, you know, something that ultimately doesn't benefit you in any way, but you're inspired by how hard they work, and you're like inspired to do the same and have the ultimate battle, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's cool when like people that become champions talk about how like, you know, they looked up to those champions that they had to beat, you know, and really respected them and were fans and loved watching them, you know, and I think that brings more out of you than, you know, some desire to hurt them, you know, something you have to tell yourself, you know, if you're like, no, I really respect this person to the point where I want to work so hard and become what they are, or you know.
Yeah. I mean, you don't
earn
have
that victory. You know?
Yeah. You don't have to hate someone to like be able to work hard and also just like believe you can win.
Yeah.
You know, and just like win at all costs.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I remember even like running St. Joseph. There would be times like the hill in Los Gatos. Like,
Yeah.
which is also like one of those like stories of just how you always dig deeper. There's always like another level that you didn't think you could hit. Like there would be times in the beginning when we first started running it, we were like, fuck, I don't know if I could run this to the top.
Yeah, when we first started, for sure.
And then like the most recent times were like, can we run this in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
You know, can we fucking run this in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
But I remember there would like, do you know where like it cuts off from the bike trail and then it loops around for the walking trail?
Yep. Yeah.
I remember I would always hit that loop, and like it's this gradual uphill and there's only about a mile left. And I'm like, I would just, every time I hit that loop, I just imagine like, okay, I could fucking maybe just coast here. It's like the least gradual of the incline there is, and I could just kind of like walk or not walk, but like jog slowly and catch my breath. And then I like imagine like Aaron Pico or someone else, someone else that I could potentially fight. And I'm like, what are they doing? And like I literally like envision him running next to me, and I'm like, I gotta fucking beat him. I gotta beat him.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like, I just start running harder. Like and it's always at that corner for some reason. But yeah. It's funny.
I know, dude. Yeah, I always think when we would hit that corner, just that stretch where it's the final sprint.
Yeah.
You know, I always like start to think like about, it's like it's gonna suck so bad. Like your heart rate starts to build because you know it's coming. You're like, the fucking painful part is about to come. You know, and it's weird that like when it comes, you're so amped.
Yeah.
And then you forget that you were like dreading it. Yeah. Because like once you're actually sprinting, it's a whole different shift.
Yeah.
Like I would be like anticipating it. I'm like, oh, here comes that part. I'm like, my heart rate starts to elevate, and I'm like, I just know I'm gonna fucking blow my wad here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna be so tired. But then you start sprinting, you're just like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's like once you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah, you're in it.
And it's in for a penny, in for a pound. Like I'm committed past a certain point, and I'm not gonna stop now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you feel your body getting slower, and you just want to keep fucking pushing.
Yeah.
You get mad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, dude. That's really what happens. Yeah. I get mad when I feel my body breaking down. I just get so filled with intense hate. Pissed at myself. I'm like, you weak person.
I was talking to Chunks about this, and I was like, I mean, Elias has always been like just a better runner than me, you know, like just he could go faster for longer periods of time. And like, so I was telling Chunks, I was like, dude, I mean, we were just talking about how like having each other, like just pushing each other to our limits, like day in and day out, and like just how fucking blessed we are to be able to like have, you know, each other and both be high level martial artists and be able to train and push each other to the limits. But I remember telling him this morning, I was like, there's nothing I get more nervous for than like training with Elias, whether it's a roll or a run. And like, if I'm going to run a hill with Elias or just anything, I'm like, instantly, like I could compete and I'm not feeling as many butterflies as like if I'm going to run a trail with Elias.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, this
Well,
is going to be
you respect
so
him.
fucking hard.
You don't want to let him down, and if you wuss out, he's going to give you so much crap.
Exactly.
And it's going to make you feel so bad.
I know he'd be pissed if I just like slowed down to the point where like he lost me, you know? So I was like, I'm just like, he can be ahead of me, but I just can't fucking slow down. And I'm like, I got big ass legs. So I'm like, I think they just don't carry me as fast. I'm just not as nimble through the wind. But I just like every time, like near the end,
sails.
yeah. They're catching a lot of fucking wind. And like near the end of each of our hill runs, he's just like 15, 10, 20 feet ahead of me. And I'm just like, oh, I can't fucking stop. And I need
He's
to
just
fucking
prancing
go as hard
along
as
like
I
a
can.
freaking gazelle.
Yeah,
and you're
but
like,
I know like he's feeling the pain I'm feeling, but I'm just like, oh, I can't fucking stop. I remember like do you remember the Los Gatos run?
Dude. I always think about that one.
Dude. Like this gives me pain in my stomach just thinking about it. Because like we also get competitive with each other just naturally. It's like if he starts pulling ahead, I need to run harder. If I start pulling ahead, he needs to run harder. And like what is that length like from the park down to like the bridge, you know?
Well, we must have been dead sprint like for 2 miles. Like that's not an exaggeration.
Dude, yeah,
we were dead sprint for 2 miles. I actually, because I was trying to stay ahead of Laird. It's the big brother thing. I'm just like, I've got to push, not just because I want to like dominate him, but because I want to make Laird proud as the older brother. I want him to look up to me and be like, I can fucking work that hard too. So I'm just like trying to stay ahead, but we're like just at a sprint, and I know there's like 2 miles left because the ground is marked. Yeah. So I know where we are. I'm like, there's still about fucking 2 miles.
Fucking running like a 6 minute mile pace, you know?
Just dead
But it just kept getting faster because I would like try to push harder and like catch ahead, and then he would push harder until like once we like. Dude, we're at the last like, half a mile. We were just both fucking
full stride,
like on our toes. Just I could hear his breath just next to me.
Yeah,
and like I remember like after the run and when we went through like the finish point, I just fucking dropped into the grass and was crying, like actually crying in pain. I was like. I went into the grass like and just fell to my knees and just tears running down my face.
Involuntary.
I was like, I just wanted to scream out loud. It was fucking terrible, dude.
And then Elias looked at you and he's like, "Fix your face."
Yeah. He was just walking. I was like, ugh. That was hard.
That was kind of hard.
No, that was painful.
Yeah.
I remember being dead too. I remember. Our legs were fucked for like a few days after that.
We were running with our buddy Lawrence, and he must have just thought, like, what the fuck are these guys doing?
Yeah.
Because, like, we were all just supposed to go on, like, just a run. Like, we were all supposed to.
Yeah.
But, like, I eventually just started, like, leaving them, and then Elias was like, well, I'm going to go with Laird.
So this was like your flow roll video.
Yeah.
You want to go for a little run, just a little flow run?
Yeah. And Lawrence was so far behind us. It's like, oh man, that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that was good. That's a lot of content, a lot of talk.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good spot to end.
Yeah. Anything upcoming?
It's
Christmas.
Yeah, it's almost Christmas. It's December 16th. We're having a great winter at ALLGROUND. It's been an awesome 7-8 months, and man, I'm so freaking excited for what's to come in 2025. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's the start of a new year, and like nothing like everything that's happening now is sort of going to continue to happen, and everything changes as it does anyways.
Yeah, it's
But
an evolution.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there is something exciting about just the start of a new year and thinking about everything that can happen in that new year. And I think it's even more fun, like kind of having a business, you know, because you're like Q1, 2, 3, and 4, and like what are we gonna do then?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of just thinking about our lives as well. Q1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna fight again. You know, hopefully, Laird, you'll be to the point where either you're getting ready for a fight or you're fighting towards the end of the year or something. But I just think, you know, there's been a lot of discipline and work this year and sacrifice in order to build what we're building. And I think 2025 is just going to be fucking awesome for ALLGROUND, awesome for our journey as martial artists, and awesome for all the great people that we have around us. So, yeah, I'm just super excited.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's a great way to end it.
Cool. Peace.
Later.
All right, let's go.